everybody, welcome to The Real Sith the Genius. We are starting our first review of Rebels. I'm pretty excited about this. I love this show. Kind of branching off, if you don't know who we are, we're The Real Sith the Genius. We actually been primarily started doing streams for the online mobile app game Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, but people have been kind of saying, hey, why don't you... We get a lot of questions in regards to a lot of the characters and stuff in the game, and so people have been asking us about our opinions about the shows and the movies, and we figured the most basic step is to move on to the next step, which is to review all the content that's out there right now. So we're gonna give this a shot. We're gonna be doing the season of Rebels, and we start off right off the gate with season 3, episode 1. And Finn, what are your first thoughts of this season so far? Especially someone who's coming into not seeing a lot of Rebels, what were your overall thoughts of the first episode for season 3?
Yeah, so Ranger and I are coming into from like two different angles when it comes to all of these episodes. Ranger has seen all of the different seasons and all of the different episodes. I'm kind of starting off right now, so we'll kind of give you a little bit of information from both sides. In terms of this first episode, I have to say, for the most part, I was able to keep up with what was going on without too much issues. There were a few questions that I would say maybe are good to know questions from the previous seasons, but not really essential. I would have to say, though, as a new watcher, there would be one question in particular that comes out of this that I think is more of a need to know in order to kind of understand what's going on. And maybe you can help me here a little bit, Ranger.
That is what I'm here for.
All right. Why is Kanan blind?
You have to go watch the end of the season 2. Do you want me to tell you right now, or do you want to go watch it?
Yeah, let's make it so if we have any new people. So keep in mind, this whole thing is
a spoiler. Spoiler.
Entire review.
Kermit the Frog hands. Ah!
So yeah, go ahead and fill
So
me
at the end of season 2, the finale, which is one of the greatest finales of anything I've ever seen, plus just Star Wars, Ahsoka, Kanan, and Ezra go to the Sith Temple looking for knowledge to help them defeat the Inquisitors and Vader and everybody that they're fighting against, right? So they're looking for Sith artifacts. So they go to this planet. They go into these ruins, and you see a battle of a previous battle between the Sith and the Jedi. There's all these people that have been frozen in place, turned to dust. What happens in there is the Inquisitors show up. Kanan and Ahsoka get split off from Ezra. He falls. He runs into Darth Maul, who kind of acts like that Yoda character from Empire Strikes Back, and he calls himself Old Master. And him and Ezra go into the temple and using because it's the rule of 2. So they go in there, clear all the obstacles, they get the holocron, they come out. More Inquisitors show up from this series. Then you have this big battle between the Jedi and the Inquisitors. Darth Maul gets involved, and he starts, just tearing stuff up. So they start climbing up the temple. Maul's warning them that Vader's on his way. So they're fighting the Inquisitors. Basically, they kill all the Inquisitors. All the Inquisitors die, which is shocking. Ezra goes up to the top to activate the holocron. He doesn't know that this big temple's a weapon. He's just trying to figure out, how to open the holocron. So he goes to the top. Ahsoka and goes up after him, right? And it's Maul betrays him at that point and tells him that Ezra will be his apprentice and hits him in the face and blinds him. That's how Kanan gets blind. Now, he's able to use the Force in their battle and defeat Maul, but the real story of that's how Kanan gets blind. But the real story is the battle between Ahsoka and Vader, which was heartbreaking. And you have got to, if you watch nothing else, go back and watch that. I'm telling you, you are going to be, if you don't feel the emotional tug of when Ahsoka and Vader are fighting and what happens at the end, I don't know if you're alive, because that stuff was exceptionally powerful. The fight choreography, I mean, that whole episode was just unreal. The fighting, the emotional pull of it, everything that was going on. It's just an incredible watch. So that's how Kanan gets blind.
And that does help to kind of put a lot of these other things in context. I think for the rest of the episode, it was all pretty cool, and we'll kind of go through some of the different scenes. But I was able to keep up with it, even as somebody just starting to watch.
Yeah.
There's obviously some other little questions here and there, but nothing that I felt was integral to the plot, except for that one question.
Okay. My overall thoughts, saying that I've seen all of Rebels, season 3 opener as compared to season 2 opener. Now, the season 2 opener was the Siege of Lothal. That's when you get Vader coming into the whole thing, which was incredible. Is this season opener as good as season 2? I think it's just right below it, but it didn't need to be. Season 2, the way I think what's brilliant about the writers and Dave Filoni, the director, is they knew what after season 1 they needed something really big and powerful to get more people in. People had watched the first season were really starting to buy into it, and that season 2 opened to the Siege of Lothal, which you should watch also. Really exploded the whole storyline. This one I thought was exceptionally well done, is the fact that it kind of gets you ready for season 3. It shows you all the characters. It kind of shows you where they're at. It kind of shows you where they're coming from and the after effect, which we're going to get into. So let's get into kind of the synopsis and plot screen by screen for all this. Let me pull it up. It's not pulling up. Why is it not pulling up? Okay, there it is. So first off, let's talk about Ezra. What were your thoughts about Ezra?
So we saw this first scene with him and the little walking droid. Uh, we saw it in a clip in some of the trailers that were released. So it wasn't a new scene. It was really cool to kind of see the context of it, though, why he actually used it. Ezra was trying to protect his friends. They were kind of cornered by the stormtroopers, and so he was trying to find a way out. And he I think this was his first mission, is trying to make it so he comes back safely with his entire crew. So he uses the dark side in order to kind of control.
Yes, he does. Cold-blooded. I mean, he was cold-blooded. I mean, he used the walker against the stormtroopers. But what's really fascinating about that scene is that you can see the dark side, him starting to, like, I'll use whatever it takes to protect my friends. The effect of what happens to Ahsoka, you can see, has had a powerful impact on him. And you see him use basically the dark side. When he makes, it's one thing for him to use the walker to wipe out the stormtroopers, but then when you see him take that step and make the walker go over the edge and destroy the walker, you kind of see the dark side coming into him. And throughout this episode, which I really like, they show that he's really starting to tap into the dark side, and that was an incredible example of him doing whatever it will take to succeed in his mission and protect his friends. So I thought it was a powerful, powerful image. Let's see, what's the next image we get into here to come up? So there we see Ezra using the Sith holocron that they got from the last season of 2. So Finn, what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, I think it's kind of cool how, even though Rebels is kind of its own series, how this series parallels a lot with the movies. Because you see this a lot with Luke, you see this with Anakin also, how they're kind of drawn with the power of the dark side in order to try and save their friends. And you see this, the cool part about Rebels, though, is that it seemed more just like a basic concept in those movies. In Rebels, you have it manifested in this holocron. Like,
right.
You can actually see the evil. He's holding the evil power. And I think it was a really cool scene just to see like how much he is drawn to it, why he's drawn to it, and yet it's a source of evil, and he's trying to figure out how to use this for the good, hoping that he can not fall into the same path as a lot of other people that have.
Well, that's right. And the mirror image of him and Anakin, right? Their fear of loss, right? Because Ezra, it's Ahsoka and his parents that were affected by this, and that sense of loss really correlates and parallels Anakin's journey. Because why did Anakin do what he did? Right? Anakin did what he did out of fear of loss. He had lost his mother. He did not want to lose Padme, and he was going to do whatever it takes out of love. However, it turned out that he was manipulated because of that. And I thought it reminded me of when Kanan gets involved and what he goes through, which we'll get into in episode 3, where Yoda's telling Anakin, cannot be afraid to lose anybody or anything. You've got to teach yourself to not, to not fear losing, because the greed, that's the power, that's the pull of the dark side, and not to mourn people, and to joyful that they're in the Force. And he says you have to train yourself to unlearn to attachment, which was what Ezra is kind of going through as well, which they kind of tied up pretty cool in this episode. So I thought that was a powerful image, and you can hear that voice. I don't know which Sith that is, but it'll be interesting when they do reveal which Sith spirit is in that holocron. For people that don't know, Jedi and Sith both have holocrons, and what it is they use the Force, kind of be part of their spirit into a device that teaches or passes on their knowledge. Jedi do the same thing with holocrons. Sith do the same thing, and that's why it's led to a lot of people, even when the Sith get wiped out, a Jedi feels part of the dark side. They find a holocron or whatnot, and it kind of guides them into, this is everything I know about the dark side. Just listen to me, and I'll teach you. So it was really cool. I really liked it. All right, so let's go on to the next slide here. And then we have one of my favorite scenes, Kanan running into the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, the Boken. And they made something canon that was not canon, because they talked about how the Force, in Legends, it had been, the Force back in the day was actually Jedi there were no Jedi and Sith. They just practiced Ashen and Boken together. It was part of their training that, they used the light side and the dark side. And the Boken were actually, in the Legends, were like monks. They were in the gray area. They used both sides. What did you think of this scene and how it played out, Finn?
So I think it was a really cool scene. It kind of put a lot of kind of Kanan struggles into a
Yes,
good
it did.
view. I can't help but think, though, as I was watching this, that whole scene reminded me of nothing more than Hellfire Peninsula in World of Warcraft.
How so?
He looks like a Tauren. The whole background
Well,
looks
yeah.
exactly like Hellfire. It just, that whole scene reminded me of World of Warcraft from beginning to end. I don't know if it was intended to be, if
I
that
don't
was
think
any
so.
kind of.
No, I don't
It
think
was
so.
just, he's a Tauren.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, he's a Tauren.
Well, he was voiced by Tom Baker, who was the 5th Doctor for Doctor Who, which I really loved. What I found fascinating about this scene is him explaining the Force. What was really cool is when Kanan gives him the Sith holocron, he's like, "Don't open that! It's evil." And he's looking at it like, he's like, an object isn't evil. It's the person, and people are evil, which was his point. The great thing about this scene too is when he gets Kanan to see that the fear and the reason the spiders were reacting the way they were to him is because all the internalizing that Kanan had done to separate himself from his friends, to separate himself from the Force, to become that fear. Because remember, he says to Ezra, he fears, but no, it's not Ezra, it's me. That realization was a key component of how the Boken was showing him and telling him, hey, you can see if you really want to see. I thought it was brilliantly done. I did have a slight issue that it was kind of convenient that on this planet there just happened to be one of these creatures. just happened to be there. But I mean, that's a slight nitpick. I mean, I was kind of like, well, that's convenient. They've been on this planet the whole time, and all of a sudden, like, I'm here. Come see me. Any more thoughts on this? I thought it was brilliantly done.
I think it was too, and I actually kind of felt bad for those spiders. They seem more fearful with the animation, like, of Kanan than Kanan was of the spiders. So
yeah, and because they've been in this planet before, this is where you have to go back and watch the episodes. They create this base, and the spiders were a big part of it. Spider creatures, whatever you want to call them. And initially, Kanan and Ezra both felt in the Force very old, fearful, dark energy coming from them. But as you can see, this one it kind of tied up that it really wasn't. The spiders were reacting to the people around them, not so much, that they were that way. So I thought it was really good. All right, let's go into the next image. If I can get it up here. Okay, so then we get introduced to my man, Thrawn. Thrawn, God damn, did they do a great job with this. Thrawn was so well done in this. I mean, what did you know? We talked about this before, but have you done any research more on Thrawn, or what did you think of the introduction of Thrawn and his character?
So I haven't done any more background research, but just looking at him, he just seems like that badass bad guy that's just gonna like overthink everything to the point where he's just gonna like dominate everybody's plans and just mess everything up for everyone, which is I think just really awesome.
Yeah,
He's more of a cerebral bad guy.
Yes, he is such a cerebral bad guy, and the thing about Thrawn that you're going to see is that Thrawn is such a genius and tactical thinker, and you don't see Grand Moff Tarkin just. I mean, he just doesn't capitulate to anybody, right? And you see his reaction. He respects Thrawn, and he will listen to what Thrawn has to say. Vader, in the same course, the same way with Thrawn. Even though he doesn't have the Force or anything like that, they respect his ability, because what Thrawn does is he looks at you in a bigger scope, and he sees things in a bigger scope. The way he goes about things is he's going to make you defeat yourself. He is going to learn about your society. He's going to learn it from your art and your culture, your philosophy, your religion. He will study all that, and he will use that to his advantage. He understands his opponents and the way they think before he makes a move. And then when he makes moves, he's thinking big picture. He doesn't care about whether he wins or loses a victory. Oh, yeah. It only matters is if it's part of the grander scheme, which we saw in here several times. Where that one captain was like, "Oh, aren't we going to do anything?" And he's like, "No, we're not going to do anything. You stupid. I mean, I have a bigger plan. Let them go." And they're like, "Okay." They don't know what to do, but Tarkin and the rest are like, "Yep, okay, good. Thrawn's doing."
I don't understand that. It reminds me of like one of the scenes, I think it was from Blue Harvest and Family Guy, and it goes back to the movies, and I think it's episode 5, where that shuttle launches with just C-3PO and R2-D2, and they don't shoot at it because there's no life forms detected. Can you imagine if they shot that shuttle with those two and C-3PO and R2-D2 died?
Oh, like, yeah, I mean, but
it would just end like. Nobody would know what the hell's going on. It's the same thing here. What are they, like, trying to save resources?
It was not about resources. What Thrawn was saying is, I don't want to defeat a couple of ships. I want to find out and have them all together so I can wipe them out together.
Does he not realize that these are the main characters of this whole show?
Oh, no, he does. He does, but he's like, there's a bigger picture than this one battle. Okay, let's say I wipe out these couple of vessels and these ships, right? I still have a whole rebellion over here that I got to get my hands on. And he's like, again, he thinks 20 moves ahead, right? He's already plotting and strategizing to where he's going to manipulate the situation. And you're going to see what he does, right? You're going to see how incredible Thrawn is. And then you'll see, but look back at this episode, like, I kind of get why he did what he did, because he's setting things up. He lays the groundwork for a bigger victory. He doesn't sit there. He'll sacrifice pieces, right? He'll do what's necessary, but it has to make sense tactically. Okay, I wipe out a couple of vessels. What have I really accomplished? I still got the whole rebellion out there. Now he's setting this up to where he's making the moves to where the rebels are going to get to a certain point thinking, oh, wow, we did it again, and he's going to, when it happens, they're going to be, what in the hell happened to us? So Thrawn, just watch him. He is going to be the main antagonist in this season. They nailed his character, his voice. God, his voice was so perfectly spot on. Just a brilliant introduction to a character. Okay, let's see next.
Yeah, like one. I don't mind that. Like I'm sure he has like a greater plot and everything, but it seems like one of those things that's just consistent in Star Wars. Stormtroopers are gonna miss no matter how tight this hallway is, which saw again in this episode, and the bad guy is always going to let the main character somehow go instead of just killing them when they had the chance.
I know, but like he doesn't. But he thinks differently.
I hope he has a plan.
He does. You're going to see it, and if you saw some of the early previews that they showed, they talk about we're getting our ass kicked all over the place here, and then when they find out who it is, they get scared. This is one of the few people in the Empire that they go, we're in trouble because people know who Thrawn is and they know about the Seventh Fleet. He'll wipe out it. I mean, he's vicious, but he's vicious and ruthless when it serves his purpose. Like if it's going to not help him succeed in his mission, like he could have easily wiped out those that rebellion, at the end of the episode. But he's like,
Yeah.
I've got a bigger picture and a bigger plan. Let them go. And I don't think most, if you watched Rebels and if you watched the Star Wars movies, it's like get them, attack. They just don't. They're thinking in the now and they're not thinking ahead. So you'll see it play out. Trust me on this one. If you go back and if you read the Timothy Zahn books about Thrawn, he was incredible. He gave the New Republic. I mean, they didn't know what to do with his ass. So, and then we kind of see the main mission where, well, this is the beginning mission where they go and they rescue a famous character, Hondo.
The show for me.
Yes.
Ugnaughts. It's so many Ugnaughts. Ugnaughts everywhere. You start off with Turba, then Turba gets exploded.
He dies so horribly.
He just like tries to run past everybody.
There's a boom. It's like, well, there goes like Hondo's reactions. Like, well, there goes that part of the deal. Hondo's such a great character, especially when they're going after the B wings in the main mission. He's like, we will stay here and guard the shuttle. And of course, Ezra's like, okay, good, I'll go get this. And then you see him take it off. He's like, wait, I thought you were good. Well, I did, but we're good. That's Hondo's character. You'll see him, just the way he plays things. Hondo is a good guy, but he's all about himself and profits and everything. So it was really a great scene. And in that beginning scene, you get to see Ezra and how far he's come with the Force. I mean, we saw with the Walker, but when he whips out his new lightsaber and just starts going to town, I mean, he was just wrecking them. And you can see that he is developing at a fast rate with the Force. And you saw it throughout the whole episode of he's becoming a badass. You really see that Ezra's coming into his own. So that whole escape scene was so great. I really love Chopper in this because Chopper's, he's like, all right, jump off.
To say, at starting right now in the season, he may be my favorite character. He's just such a disgruntled little droid.
He is.
He's always complaining about everything, and he still does everything. So awesome.
Pick him up and put him in the B-wing. Yeah, he does that all the time. He just does not. He's a very mouthy little droid. It's what he does. It's so good. Chopper's one of my favorites too. I mean, when he first came out, people were really annoyed with Chopper. I didn't quite understand it. I mean, I kind of did, but for me, I thought he was always that comedic, thing. But yeah, all his little scenes really had me giggling the whole way through. So let's see what else we got here. In the next scene. We can kind of see that's Turbo getting exploded.
Yeah, I love that. Just seeing him fly, it was such a great scene.
It was. And then more. And so we get into the main mission. The first mission is they rescue Hondo. They take Hondo to the rebellion base. He tells them that there's a factory where they're getting rid of all these Y-wings. Right, and I did love at the end of the episode they say that those are supposed to go to Yavin 4. So those Y-wings were the Y-wings they used on the Death Star run, which was I loved how they tie that in together. That's where they were going. But yeah, we get more Ugnaughts, which Finity loves. But their main mission is to go to this. They're supposed to just be recon, but again, Ezra getting more powerful on the dark side, just becoming more forceful. Makes the decision and forces them kind of go along that we're going to get because they're destroying them as they speak and they need to get them. So they go right down the planet, which leads to everything. What did you think about the whole sequence of the station with everything that transpired?
I mean, I think everything kind of went as I thought it would. It all seems to make sense. They didn't really leave, except for those little things like I mentioned with Thrawn letting them go. The overall sequence was all pretty logical in what happened. It's kind of interesting how Chopper ended up from not even wanting to help with any of the Y wings to getting shoved into one of them by Zeb, and then controlling 4 of them
I
as they
know.
were retreating.
He's like that all the time. I really liked the end there after Kanan has gone through his thing and is accepting of what he needs to do. He goes and he finds Ezra because they kind of schismed, right? Ezra had been kind of doing his own thing and becoming this leader. Kanan had pulled back and was kind of feeling sorry for himself and everything. But that when Ezra needed him the most, Kanan, it was such a great scene where it says, reach out, trust me, I got you, let go. And Ezra let go and he's able to get him. I thought that was a powerful sequence in the episode as well.
And it wasn't just like Ezra's hand just happened to be
No.
with Kanan. Kanan had to go and reach without being able to see
Yes.
where Ezra was, which I think was a great little. It's a small element, but still a really powerful element.
Yeah.
Of that scene.
It's like it's like Kanan can see, even though he's blinded, he can see, and I think they're going to kind of explore that more this season. Now that he can't see with his eyes, that he can still see with the Force, and he can be aware of his surroundings. And he was able to, I think more than anything, it showed he just kind of knew where Ezra was and grabbed him, which was really cool. And then you see the battle, they get away, they get the Y-Wings, and then you see the end where Kanan and Ezra have a little talk, and you kind of see Ezra coming back to the light a little bit. He's getting that guidance from Kanan that he did not have, and that's why he was using the Sith holocron as much as he was, because Kanan had pulled back. So Ezra wanted to do, out of good, to protect his friends, was listening to a source that was trying to manipulate him to, unleash his anger and unleash his fury, and telling him that it gives him focus and strength. But it also blinded him to some of the things that he did, some things in here that he shouldn't have. So overall, I mean, how did you feel about the season opener?
I mean, I liked it. Being that I'm new to watching it, the fact that there wasn't too much that I don't feel I'm missing as a result of starting right here is, I think, a great aspect. Like I said, the only thing that I wasn't sure about that I think is a little critical was what happened with Kanan, and they referenced what happened with Ahsoka also, not specifically, but they said like whatever happened with Kanan and Ahsoka is making Ezra feel like more more conscious about what he's doing as a leader and those kind of things. So
Yeah.
outside of that, I think it was really easy to kind of catch up really quick without having seen the other stuff. I am going to go back and watch it when I have some time. I just haven't had time.
Yeah.
And I know there's people that have like the same issue. It's just hard to sometimes catch up on 2 seasons of a show. But even if you start with episode 1 of season 3, I don't feel like you're going to be missing out on too much. You can kind of get an idea about most of the characters, how well they interact, what they're kind of uh about their characteristics. You can kind of figure out all of the main characters, I think, because you can get Hera, Sabine, Zeb, Chopper, Ezra, like they all kind of come through here, and Kanan at the end. So I thought it was a really good episode that allowed for newer viewers also to kind of keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, I do too. So tell us what you think. We've got, next week they gave a little tease that Darth Maul is going to be back. And you haven't seen any of these, so you haven't seen Darth Maul's reaction. So I can't wait to see this episode because they're getting right into Darth Maul. And what his character, he's going to be another antagonist in this season. So it's going to be interesting to see where they're going to take Darth Maul. Voiced by the great Sam Witwerth. So rate, subscribe, tell us your thoughts of this season and this episode. Let's get some feedback going. Tell us what your thoughts of the premiere was. Like and subscribe our channel. Finn, can you tell the folks where they can like and subscribe our channel at?
So we'll have it in the description of our YouTube video. So you'll be able to subscribe, visit our website, realsithofgenius.blogspot.com, visit some of our links that we have there. Please subscribe and like our video.
Awesome. So on behalf of the Real Sith of Genius, I'm Ranger J 1999. That's Finn. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next Sunday because we're going to be doing these every Sunday, recapping all the Rebel shows, and we look forward to seeing you guys again. Thanks for checking us out, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
We need more Ugnaughts.
No, we don't.